Friends, there's an undeniable atmosphere of fear gripping the world right now, and the Western media, true to form, has wasted no time in pointing fingers, holding one nation solely responsible, Iran. Their narrative? Iran made one critical mistake, and now, that single error has plunged the entire world into peril. Western experts, the usual talking heads, are echoing a singular sentiment. It was Iran's fault. Iran should have simply tolerated Israel's actions, quietly absorbed the blows, and meekly signed whatever deal was put before them. They should have abandoned their nuclear ambitions entirely. But as we all know, after Israel's unprecedented Operation Rising Lion, an attack vastly more extensive than anything seen before, including last year's exchanges, Iran did not sit quietly. And this is where the Western narrative completely collapses. They launched over 350 ballistic missiles, and yes, some of those were hypersonic missiles. These weren't mere pinpricks. These missiles, according to reports, broke through Israel's much-vaunted Iron Dome and landed in cities. We are talking about 24 Israeli lives lost. Suddenly, lakhs of Israelis are spending their nights in bunkers. And for the first time, Israelis are feeling it. They are realizing that other countries, too, can retaliate. That not every country is Gaza, where you can walk in, unleash devastation, and consider yourself the undisputed champion. The tables have turned. Remember what Israel said in reply to Hamas. If you didn't want retaliation, why did you do October 7th? Well, Iran is saying the exact same thing now. You targeted our nuclear program, our top scientists, our generals. So, we will respond. And this, my friends, was completely out of syllabus for Israel. In fact, America, the superpower, is now publicly mourning the loss of 24 lives in Israel. 24 lives. Let's put this into perspective, shall we? In the 3 days of Operation Rising Lion, Israel targeted Iran and caused the loss of 406 lives, mostly civilians. That, apparently, was not a big deal. And what about Gaza? In the last 20 months, 55,000 lives lost, including 15,000 children. Not a big deal. The complete lack of basic food, water, and aid in Gaza? Also not a big deal. But 24 lives in Israel? Oh, that needs to be retaliated. That requires a full-scale global intervention. The sheer hypocrisy of the West is now clearer than ever. The United States, the UK, all of them, according to their public statements, may have to get involved.
Why?
Because Israel, the aggressor in Operation Rising Lion, is suddenly the real victim in this narrative. Before, hypocrisy was a sophisticated, nuanced concept. You had to analyze, debate. Now, people have no doubt. The West was putting on a show, and that show has been exposed as utterly fake. Their moral high ground has crumbled. Now, before we go further, let's make it clear where my team stands. Because these days, I stand with has become quite fashionable. First, we have a long history with Iran, and we need to talk about de-escalation, dialogue, and diplomacy. Second, we firmly believe in a two-state solution between Palestine and Israel. Meet the Israeli president, upset, deeply distressed by how civilians are being targeted in Israel. He asks, why does Iran need to be stopped? This emotional post, this plea for sympathy, must have been read by Palestinians in Gaza, and their collective thought must have been, where was this post when you were targeting us? Where was your concern for our civilians? This is Aylin Levy, a former spokesperson for Israel, who tirelessly defended Israel's actions in international media, famously pushing the narrative that everyone is Hamas. Today, he is shocked. He is utterly dismayed by how civilians were targeted. Their reaction is, how can Iran do this? This is beyond their imagination. The country that has been doing the exact same thing for months, raining down bombs on civilians, should it really appear shocking to them when it happens on their own soil? You weren't showering flowers on Gaza for 20 months. Now you're shocked and angry? 55,000 people in Gaza must be thinking, are you comedying me? This, my friends, is just the beginning. The powerful IDF, which claims it can target threats 1,000 miles away, try to show itself as a victim, even going so far as to release a seemingly fake video to claim Israel was being targeted. They loudly proclaim, Israel is a victim of aggression. For argument's sake, let's say Israel has an undeniable right to exist and defend itself. And for this right, you believe it's justified to target thousands of Palestinians. But tell me, is it fun? Is it amusing? You have even allowed boat tours for people to see how Gaza is being damaged. Is this Disneyland or Disney World? People are apparently happy to see this destruction. Israel would say, oh, we haven't done or endorsed these boat tours. Those are just extremists. Really? You're so helpless that your own media is covering this, but you are completely innocent? Does mocking Palestine on social media look okay to you, as a civilization, as a country? What exactly are you doing? And now you are getting affected? In UN history, the highest number of their workers lost their lives in 2024, over 126 in Gaza alone. Israel has explicitly targeted UN workers, and the UN's response? A mild condemnation. And now, Israel is suddenly remembering the UN after Iran retaliated? Where are you, Amnesty International? Where is the UN, they cry? How can they come to save them now, after 2 years of silence? How many times in the last 2 years have you seen Palestinians on TV sharing their pain, with Western media focusing on their suffering? And now, for 3 days straight, Western media has been sharing the same story, how people are living in fear in Tel Aviv, how they're spending their nights in shelters, how much injustice is happening to them. Guests from Iran are brought on air, relentlessly asked, when will Iran sign the nuclear deal and end this? Here's the kicker. Iran was negotiating a deal, remember? But then Israel and the US seemingly thought, let's do something risky. Perhaps they got intel on Iran's nuclear capability and decided to strike in the middle of ongoing talks. But America is playing a dangerous game, and Western media is now sad because their narrative is crumbling. Western publications are already warning that Gaza will suffer more now as Israel has been targeted and despise for Jews is rising. They pivot back to the core issue, Iran's nuclear ambition. And then the classic line, Israel feels unsafe. After all, Israel is a responsible nuclear power. How can Iran be? Oh, really? Let's ask some questions. Who signed the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty? Who followed the Atmospheric Test Ban Treaty? Who inspected the IAEA? Who stole nuclear technology? Who used nuclear blackmail against the US? Look into the details, and the answer to all these questions will become glaringly obvious. And then the fundamental question arises, if Israel has nuclear weapons, why can't Iran? Many people are asking this, but I say leave it. Let's not get into the convoluted math of hypocrisy. But what game is being played on you by this very question? According to Israel, Iran has been close to being nuclear for 30 years now. This narrative is so old that even the BBC, which prides itself on its reputation, is now effectively in Israel's lap. The Center for Media Monitoring recently studied BBC's coverage of Israel over the past year. They found a consistent pattern of bias, a blatant double standard, and the deliberate silencing of Palestinian voices. 34 times more victims in Palestine, yet 33 times more coverage given to Israeli fatalities. This is the unadulterated hypocrisy of the West. The international media portrays the situation as if Israel never did this, not in Gaza, not in Lebanon. The same international media proudly showcases how Israel precisely targeted Iranian scientists and generals in their bedrooms. Where was this precision in Gaza? You conveniently didn't know where Hamas was then? You had the ability to strike precisely, but you simply didn't want to do that. International media is allowed into Israel, but it is not allowed into Gaza. Did Iran achieve nuclear capability? Almost? We don't know for sure. If achieved, will it destabilize the Middle East? Perhaps. Does Iran need to disarm? Absolutely. But talk to Iran, make a deal. But how to change a regime? That's the old, tired formula of the West. First, show the danger, then change the regime. 2003, Saddam Hussein in Iraq. 2011, Gaddafi must be removed. A matter of regional stability. 2013, Syria. Assad is going to use chemical weapons. Similarly, to change the regime in Iran. This same playbook may be unfolding. How true is it? You know better. Iran had already made a deal before, the JCPOA, and stopped its nuclear project. But in the first term of the Trump administration, the U.S. unilaterally broke that deal. Now, before another deal could even be contemplated, Israel acted. And in doing so, they've undermined any chance Trump might have had to be a peacemaker. Israel doesn't seem to listen to the U.S. Netanyahu says he wants peace. But at what cost? Targeting Gaza negotiators, Iran negotiators, and then saying, I want peace. In America, too, there's finally an open discussion about this. Are we controlling Israel, or is Israel controlling us? People are in a tight situation. No welfare. Jobs are getting scarce. But billions of dollars are being given to Israel every year. Why? Because now people are starting to understand that U.S. leaders are under control, perhaps influenced by certain lobbies. This situation can get incredibly complicated if everyone doesn't calm down. Iran has exposed Israel's vulnerability. Now, the Papa America is being called upon to clean up the mess. Scientists and generals may be gone, but Iran still has launch capability and a formidable missile stockpile. Iran has also shown that it will not back down so easily. Trump might have been thinking about making a deal, but that has now been put to a screeching halt. The hypocrisy of the West is now obvious. It's clear who the real victim is, and it's not the one the Western media wants you to believe. This is not good for the West in the long term, because no one will listen to their hegemony, their words, or their supposed moral stand anymore. This, my friends, is not good news for world peace.